How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ethan Bridge. I'm host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. In today's episode of the podcast, I wanted to talk about things that I wish I knew when I first started building my personal brand and creating my content. Because if I had known these things as soon as I started out, it would have streamlined my journey and made the whole process so much simpler and enjoyable in those early stages. Because one of the main reasons so many people quit early on is because they are working so hard, but seeing very little results. So the things I talk about today are the 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started my page. So without any further ado, let's just dive straight into the first point. Point number 1, fancy design isn't everything. People spend so much time on overcomplicating their piece of content to make it look really visually appealing. But when you have too much fancy design and too much going on, it distracts from the point of your actual post. When I first started, I thought I needed to create this masterpiece, and being someone who isn't a designer, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to Photoshop and Illustrator. I know the basics and how to make a post look appealing, but I don't know in depth how to make a beautiful piece of design like a great graphic designer would. And therefore, when I was coming to create my content, the design I was creating, and even though I was putting a lot of effort into it, wasn't piecing together and looking as visually appealing as a proper graphic designer would have been able to make it look. And that took away from my post. It distracted from the actual value of my content. The words I was actually using that were providing the value were being drowned out by all of this design I was trying to implement. And now if you look at my page, it's just one line of text on each slide. I might have an image here and there to break up the visual aspect and keep people interested, but it couldn't be more minimal. It's so simple, my design now. And this saves time. I don't have to think about all of these fancy little design aspects that could take 15-20 minutes on each single slide. I just type a bit of text and then I'm done. I focus personally on the storytelling and the value I'm providing within the words I'm using, opposed to how visually appealing my post looks. Sometimes simple is best. Sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate things to do well. My most engaged with posts are the ones that have been minimal. No fancy design, nothing, just good storytelling and value providing content. And that just goes to show that what is within your content, the words you use and the value and problems you solve of your audience is far more important than the visual aspect of it. However, you need to create your content in a way that is easily consumable by your audience. You cannot throw words into a page and completely disregard design. But what I'm saying is you don't have to overcomplicate things and make things look really fancy for your post to succeed. Simple text on a plain background works. I know that because that's what I do. I spend more time on my cover slide because that is what grabs the attention initially. But throughout my carousel, there is no fancy design. And I wish I knew that when I first started, because it would have saved me so much time and I would have been able to provide more value to my audience and really make them focus on the point I was actually trying to get across, opposed to distracting them with my attempted design. So moving on to point number 2, do not focus on the numbers. And I know this is one that can be incredibly difficult when you first start out, because all you're thinking about is reaching that first 100, reaching that first 1,000 followers, getting those ego boosting metrics up because they're encouraging. But when you focus too much on those engagements, you become discouraged. They're counterintuitive. You start feeling as if you're just getting nothing out of all of this hard work you are putting in. But it's important to be incredibly impatient. Disregard those numbers. Don't look at them all the time. You want to be analyzing the metrics of your post to make sure that you can tweak certain aspects, refine and improve. But don't focus on the follower count. don't focus on the number of likes you are getting. Focus on the metrics that matter to the goal you actually want to achieve. If you are using social media to grow a business, then you want to be looking at how many sales your content is creating. Your follower count has no real meaning. So don't get discouraged by the fact that you aren't gaining followers if you are getting sales, because you are getting that end goal of what you set out to achieve. But what I'm really trying to say is these things will come. They will come with time. They will come with patience. They will come with the consistency and the consistent improvement of your content over time. When you first start, your content isn't going to be great. Mine was horrendously bad. You can scroll back to the bottom of my feed and look at my first posts. I'm not embarrassed by them because they were a start. That's where I've come from, and I can look back and people can see how far I've come, and that builds into my authority, and that actually helps sell my consultation services because people can see that I've been through this journey myself and been able to achieve what I have through this consistent improvement. You wouldn't hire someone for Instagram consultation if they hadn't gone through the journey themselves. I teach people how to build that authority, build that audience so that they can then leverage it and monetize that following. If I hadn't done that myself and been through that journey, nobody would trust me and the service I provided. But they can see that I've been through that journey myself, and therefore that instantly builds that trust and that authority and acts as that social proof for the product or service I provide. So the fact that I didn't focus on the numbers and they just stayed consistent and improved over time, it suddenly just all clicked and came together, and it started all coming organically. When you first start your page, the algorithm doesn't know who you are. The community doesn't know who you are. So you have to engage. You have to embed yourself in this community and slowly have that engagement increase on your profile. And at first, that is going to be extremely slow. So don't look at those numbers and just focus on the quality of the content you are putting out and how much you are engaging with your community, because it takes time to build that authority, build that trust, build that influence, and embed yourself in the minds of the community so that they begin to remember you and visit your page and follow you. But the more you do it, the more you are consistent with it, then over time it will come. So do not focus on the numbers, just focus on the quality of your content and the engagement you are putting out. Point number 3, your uniqueness will propel your growth. When you first start out, it's likely that you're just going to look at another creator, see what they're doing well, and mimic it. And that is a strategy you should, in some ways, implement. You should be analyzing what is working for the competition, but don't copy it. Don't just word for word copy content or ideas or branding or design, because that's not going to help you in the long run. Because why would someone follow you when they could just follow that original creator? Your uniqueness is your unique selling point. That is what's going to propel your growth in the long term. People follow people. People want to invest in you as an individual. And your uniqueness is going to be what helps you stand out from the crowd. You don't want to be like everyone else. You want your own unique style. You want your own unique message. And you want to have that own unique personality that people connect with and follow you for being you. But this again will take time. It's unlikely that you're going to find your perfect style and personality with your content straight away. You're going to need to try different things, see what you enjoy, see what works for you. What content format do you like most? What design and layout works best for you? These are all things you're going to have to test. Testing is key. You can't expect to consistently do the same thing and then someday it just work. That's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and it failing is insanity. You need to refine, take what works, push away what doesn't, and continue bringing in the things that work, so that overall you then have this optimized strategy that is going to help propel you forward. But that all comes from being unique and finding your own style. Point number 4, and this is one that I wish I did from day one, but I was worried, I was nervous about doing it, and that was showing my face on my page. I was building a personal brand, but I wasn't showing my face. Yes, I had my profile picture that was my face, but I wasn't creating video content. I wasn't creating Instagram stories where I was talking to the camera and just talking to my audience on that personal level. And that's not really a personal brand if you aren't bringing you into it. You can't think you've got a personal brand just because you have your face as your profile picture. No one can tell what you are really like as an individual by looking at a profile picture. You need to get on camera, show your face, create video content, put yourself in the covers and the headlines of your content. Get your audience to know you. When people buy into you, that is when you succeed. People invest in people. People don't invest in content. So as soon as you can get people to buy into you as an individual, you will see success, because that trust carries forward. If you switch niches, people will follow you because they still are invested in you as an individual, opposed to the content that you create. Yes, your content still needs to provide them with value, otherwise they wouldn't stumble across you in the first place. But when they buy into you as an individual, that trust and that authority is built, and you can begin to leverage that audience and funnel them in different directions towards your business, which is the end goal. But showing your face helps you connect with your audience on a more personal level. Someone can't really tell your personality and the way you speak through words, through a carousel, through text on a page. Yes, you can type in a way as you would speak in person, but that is nowhere near as good as speaking directly into a camera and talking to your audience face to face. Yes, I get you're not really talking face to face because you're talking into a camera, but the way your audience view the content, they feel as if you are talking to them. You're being personal. You are showing them your personality through the way you speak. You are hearing their accent. You're hearing their enthusiasm for the topics they are talking about, and that all shines through in the content and helps you develop that personal brand. So if you are building a personal brand, please jump on camera, show your face, get people to know you as an individual, be personal, and have people invest in you as a creator. And my final point that I want to mention is that you need to be building real connections. Every single follower you get isn't just a number, it's a person. A person has actually clicked that follow button because they are interested in what you create. But it's a human behind that profile, and you need to remember that. So reach out to them, build that personal connection, talk to them through video content, DM them, get to know them as an individual, because that is how you build that relationship with your audience, build that trust for the future. If you want people to continue to engage with your content and follow you as a creator, you need to build that real connection. It can just be a simple DM as soon as they follow you saying, "Thank you so much for following my profile. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What do you currently struggle with?" All of these different things. By showing some genuine interest in your audience, it really helps build that connection. Imagine if you followed your favorite creator and then they reached out to you and showed genuine interest in you as an individual. You'd love that. You'd be ecstatic, and then you'd forever feel indebted to that individual because they gave you some time of day when you know they are incredibly busy, but they still took that time out their day to talk to you. So from that point going forward, you're going to continue to engage with them and follow their journey, because you're always going to remember, oh, that person, they connected with me. They reached out to me. They showed genuine interest. I like them. They're a great individual. They're a great creator. I love their personality. I love their values. When you can do that with your audience, that is how you build that loyal fan base, those loyal individuals that will stay with you, continue to engage with your content, and help you propel that growth exponentially as you continue. But if you don't build real connections, if you don't connect with your audience, if you don't DM, if you don't talk to them on stories, if you don't create video content, that's never going to happen, because you're never going to be able to connect on that emotional level and show who you really are as an individual. And that wraps up the 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started out on Instagram. And that wraps up today's video. If you did enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turned on post notifications. I did just want to mention that this is a part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and the audio version of the podcast is the place to be, because I actually release this content earlier on the audio version of the podcast, and then I will release it a little bit later here on YouTube. So if you want to consume this content sooner, make sure you head to the links in the description and subscribe to the audio version of the podcast. But if you have any questions with regards to anything I've mentioned in today's video, please just reach out to me on Instagram at @themarketingethan, send me a DM, and I'll make sure I get back to you no matter what. But if you have made it to this point in the video, I just want to finish off by saying thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.